Every 2 years, beloveds, we are getting an opportunity, and soon to be three, to engage in General Synod, which brings together faithful members of the United Church of Christ for inspirational worship and fellowship with old and new friends, to be public witness through engagement through the business of the church. And in July 2025, we are excited to welcome thousands from across the country to Kansas City, Missouri for General Synod 35. And Nurture the Soul is helping you get there. I'm sorry, y'all, I just had a bird fly into my house. Very unusual, my apologies. Today, I am so blessed that we are joined with Valerie and Josh, who are going to go into the logistics and the whys, and then with Michael, who will share a bit of their own story for this part one. This is a 4-part series, and today we hope that you will walk away with a better understanding of what Synod is and why it's important that you show up. And so I'd like to invite our panelists to the screen, Michael, Valerie, and Josh, and the random bird that might be flying around. I mean, I guess there's worse things that can happen. Maybe it's par for the course of how Monday, the last Monday in March is. I want to just welcome you to the space. Josh, you are the expert on the General Synod 101, the business side of things. What does that mean to you, and what are some ways that you can help to prepare to get us here to Kansas City?
Yeah, thanks for that introduction, Ellie, and greetings to everyone. Thank you for making the time out for this webinar. It is an exciting time as we draw closer to General Synod, and I'm very much looking forward to being in Kansas City with many of you, I hope, who would be able to make it. The General Synod folks, when they think of Synod, business is often one of the first aspects that they think of. And that's because the business that the church conducts at General Synod is, it's really, it's an important part of the gathering. It is a core reason for gathering. The General Synod itself is a product of the United Church of Christ's Constitution, which describes the UCC as being composed of local churches, associations, conferences, and the General Synod. And so while the General Synod exists in an ongoing kind of fashion through the United Church of Christ Board, what we typically refer to as General Synod, the in-person gatherings, which happen on a cyclical basis, really provide a lot of heart and also purpose for the ongoing presence of the church as General Synod. As was referenced, these gatherings happen every 2 years. After this General Synod, we switch to an every 3-year cycle. And a part of the work leading into General Synod is the work of receiving, reviewing, and presenting resolutions for the General Synod, for delegates in particular who will come to discuss, to meet in committee and deliberate over, and ultimately to vote on. And those resolutions then help to inform the work of the church and the work of the national staff over the coming years. So there is a fuller description of how resolutions come to be and how they're presented to the General Synod when it gathers, which is available via the standing rules that can be found on the generalsynod.org website. And there is a rich history of resolutions that the church has issued, that the General Synods have issued and approved from gatherings in the past, and those are often very timely and speak to all manner of social issues and economic issues of important business for the church itself, or concerns for local congregations and constituents. So the whole process of bringing business through the resolutions to the General Synod and for the discussion that takes place there is a really critical part of our gathering, and really provides shape and direction for the work of the church.
And I'm on mute. That's, really fantastic. I must ask though, Josh, before we turn it over to Valerie, like, why do you think that this year's synod, like, why is it important to get there? Do you know how it is that we came across landing in Kansas City of all places?
Valerie could actually speak to this in more detail, but I'll offer what a little bit of background if she can add to it, if necessary. The 2021 General Synod was to be held in Kansas City, and COVID scuttled that. So I don't know how it came to be in 2021 that it was in Kansas City. Typically, a conference extends an invitation, and that certainly would have been the case for this General Synod. And actually, General Synod 35 in Kansas City now is a historic first in that it's actually being co-hosted by two conferences. The Missouri Mid-South Conference and the Kansas-Oklahoma Conference have extended the invitation together and are working feverishly behind the scenes to make sure that everything is in place to welcome and receive folks and to provide all of the necessary support, hospitality, and to make sure that the event goes off well. So two conferences in this case extended the invitation. COVID put a little delay on our time in Kansas City. And this is a reschedule now that brings us back to Kansas City. I'll also say to the timeliness, I think that the theme, which is developed in part and recommended by a General Synod Program and Planning Committee, which is a part of the United Church of Christ Board, is in particular timely as the invitation for this synod is to go into the deep. Rather, it's drawn from a familiar story in Luke's gospel where Jesus is speaking to a crowd and he climbs into a boat of a fisherman to get a little bit of distance from the shore and be able to speak, to more folks. And then when he was done, and it's a familiar story, he said to Simon, who was captaining the boat, as it were, put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch. And that theme itself and that particular passage from Luke is where we are receiving now this invitation to go into the deep, and I'm really looking forward to the way that our worship experiences and our preachers will help plumb that theme as well, because worship is another important part of gathering in the General Synod. Business is usually top of folks' mind, but General Synod is really more than that. Worship itself, as well as time for gathering in workshops or educating around resolutions and issues, and then just the fellowship that comes out of the time together is also really important.
That's awesome, Josh. Thank you. And thank you for bringing it back to scripture, right? Like, I think you just said it best. We are almost always with synod thinking, this is the business of the church. This is what the future of the church could be, but also this, right? And delving
Absolutely.
into that scripture is important. So thank you so much. Valerie, you're like the 101 of getting things done. What does that mean?
You're done.
I mean, you've been here for how long? So yes.
A little bit too long. I see Art Cripps is in the house, and Art was one of the first instrumentality execs that I worked for. So hello, Art.
Oh, welcome, Art.
So you want to go to Synod. How do you get there? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to ucc.org, click on General Synod, and there's a tab there for you to register. Now, there's several categories of registration that you can choose from. Most people would choose the visitor category. Where we get a lot of confusion is the delegate category. Some folks in our local churches are delegates for their annual conference. Sometimes they think they're a delegate at General Synod. Well, that's not the case. You are a delegate when you are appointed by your conference, not by your church. So that's a very important category that we don't want to confuse people with. And if you do wonder whether or not you're in the right category, give us a call or email us at any questions for registration can be sent to Shamira Lemon. Her email is lemons@ucc.org. We do have several, as I mentioned, several registration categories. We have a seminarian or members in discernment rate. We have a youth rate and a childcare rate. Once you're in the registration site, it will also provide you the opportunity to sign up for optional dining events. Optional dining events are luncheons or dinners or receptions held by other constituents. It could be a seminarian event, it could be a national event, but it is a ticketed event that you can purchase your ticket through the registration process. Also, if you are interested in exhibiting at General Synod, that can be done through the registration process as well. You will select whether you're a vendor or an exhibitor. The difference is one is selling and one is providing resources. So that is a new option that we just began a couple of synods ago, where we're enabling exhibitors to sign up for their space via credit card, whereas in the past it was always a check, and we realized that that provided some hardship on some exhibitors. Speaking of exhibitors, the exhibit hall at General Synod is a very, very popular place. You want to make sure that you visit it and visit it often, because every day there's a new opportunity to experience some informational presentations, or just some exciting, maybe there could be a scavenger hunt, who knows? But the exhibit hall is a place you want to visit. We also, and this will be in a different seminar or webinar, there will be children and youth programming. And I do want to mention to everyone to visit ucc.org, the General Synod website. On that page, eventually, we are just now starting to populate it, but you will find, how do I reserve a scooter if I need one? How do I register for childcare if I need to? Where do I park? I mean, there is going to be a ton of information there for you, and I can't stress enough to just keep checking on that website. So perhaps you're from the Kansas-Oklahoma Conference or the Mid-Missouri Conference, and you would like to volunteer. I believe Andrea is putting into the chat a link where you can go to the conference and volunteer to help at General Synod. Maybe I should back up a little bit to give you a little background information. So the conferences who have agreed to host are also agreeing to recruit about 300 volunteers to assist with your visit to General Synod as guides, greeters, child care workers, youth workers, hotel greeters. And if you would like to volunteer, there's that link that Andrea just put into the website, and there's varying shifts and varying opportunities. So I hope anyone interested in that, I know the conferences would appreciate your support. Once you register, you will receive a link to reserve your housing. And that goes directly to the Housing Bureau. And you will work with the Housing Bureau with your hotel reservation. Unless you're a delegate. If you're a delegate, then that was taken care of by your conference. So you don't need to worry about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, Valerie. So definitely keep checking our website periodically for updates, or the General Synod website for updates. I know that I also heard that volunteering is really, really important. And so if you want to be a volunteer, it is important to our national staff and that those local organizing conferences. And you get to see Synod in a unique new way, which is really, really exciting. And so I invite you, if you've been to Synod a bunch of times, and you have the opportunity to volunteer because somebody else is a delegate or whatever, that would be awesome to see you all in that way. And I wanted to just touch base. This is a 4-part series. So in the second part, Josh alluded to our webinar on General Synod resolutions, the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why, or even the how. And that's next week. And then after that, we're going to get into what Valerie touched on, is the youth portion, is our young adult portion, is some of our accessibility and our safety and welcoming spaces. We'll hear from national staff who is making sure that that is happening. And now I really want to thank both Josh and Valerie for that. And just so you know, a follow-up email will be sent to you all with the links that everybody mentioned today. And so thank you, Valerie. Michael, we got to the business side of things, but what does it mean from no offense, Valerie and Josh, you're very human. I know you're very human, but what does it mean from the human story side of things? Why is it important?
Why is Synod important? I know that this is going to sound strange, but I actually think we can pay more attention to the business piece of it. And I'm saying that because a lot of times we frame our ideas about what the church is based on either our experience in church, or maybe we've been to seminary, or we've learned about how the church works. But our General Synod is actually where when we become the church. So in my mind, my favorite thing about Synod is not just the business and what happens on the floor, but actually what happens in the rooms during the day when nobody else knows, when all the delegates go into the room together and sit down and do the homework and really dig into the questions that are raised in the resolutions and all the things that they have to deal with. So for me, the most human element is that piece. And I name it because I think Synod is when our theology and polity come alive. Part of the thing I think that's beautiful is when our pastors or lay members who have been part of Synod and have served as a delegate go back home. Oftentimes we'll encounter people who make assumptions about who the UCC is and what the UCC does, and not have a good picture of the UCC. But when they come and serve as a delegate and go back home, it's easy to be reminded, oh, no, this was not just somebody's idea. These were things that we worked tirelessly on. So one of the things I think, if you're coming to Synod and not serving as a delegate, you've never served as a delegate, you've never been in part of the business work, I would encourage you to pay attention to it and watch it, because I think it's some of the most fascinating stuff. The thing for me is how hard that work is. And so we name business and we're kind of like, but the business part of it and the work that goes along with it is so very important, because we don't just take the resolutions and then put them on the screen and vote. The delegates come in and early in the morning, show up to caucus meetings, and then go throughout the day from meeting to meeting, from place to place. And then they have to sit at a table, and the whole time they're working. And I don't know that us as a church appreciate how much work that actually takes. So I'm saying that to say, when I walk into the vendor's hall, or when I walk into the space when we're getting ready to vote, and I look around, you can see who we are as a church. For instance, like the quilt display. So the quilt display tells a fascinating story about who we are as a church, meaning that if you can connect the hard work that you do as a delegate, going into the room and wrestling with a whole group of people about whether this is the right thing to do, whether we're doing the right thing, is this going to, sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes they're very emotional. I have been a delegate and been in a room when the conversation touched me so much, I had to get up and leave and go find somebody to pray with because the conversation was just so hard. But I had to go back in the room and engage with the rest of the group. When we see the quilts hanging up in the room, that reminds me in 1980, right? In the 1980s, in 1985, when we became an open and affirming denomination, we didn't just do that. There was lots of work that went into it. And then after we made the decision, we lived into it. Part of the story of the UCC is because we're a people who do our homework, then the decisions that we make, we are a lot much firmer behind it because we did this together as a group. So the thing for me, I think is the most exciting thing for me at Synod is the thing that most people will think is boring, which is the hard work. And the reason that it's my favorite thing is because I really love us. And I think when you see the face of a delegate who's been working all day long and then they get on the floor and they vote about something that really matters to them, it's really important for us to be able to say thank you. Like we are a church because of that floor and that work that we do. And then it touches you everywhere else. So when you walk in the vendor's hall, you get the flavor and the culture of the UCC, you think we didn't become this way out of nothing. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of effort. And so every one of these synods, when we get together, that's what it feels like for me, is we've got the world weighing on our shoulders and we're working together to try to figure out who we're going to be together again. And saying that, I also want to say that every time Synod comes around, it also tends to want to take the energy and all the efforts and the frustration that's going on in the world and kind of cinders it. And for me, that's really important because I watch the news like everyone else. I know how hard the world is like everyone else. I show up at my church congregation on Sunday and I know everyone's feeling the same thing, but it feels so very different when you walk in a room filled with more than 1,000 people who all care about what you care about, and you're doing the homework. So then when you hit the vote and then you look at the screen and you find out like all of us felt the same way. It's such a powerful feeling. But even more than that, when I go back to our congregations and you see a pastor who's challenged by their congregation about what they believe and why they believe this or who they are or what they do, it's really easy if you've been involved to be able to say that this is not a church that is making decisions for us. This is a church that we're coming into being together. So the pastor on that Sunday morning is not standing by themselves. They're standing with that whole crowd of people who have done all of this work to decide who we're going to be. So I know that it's a little bit more churchy, but for me, I just really feel that the United Church of Christ comes alive at General Synod, that we don't really exist for any other reason than for us to get together and decide who we're going to be. So Synod is what makes us who we are. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's how I think about Synod. So yeah.
Preach, Michael, preach. Yeah, I think the churchy part of it is important. And thank you for your vulnerability and sharing with us about how tough it can be to be a delegate, to do the business side of the church, and then to be able to ask for somebody to pray with you.
Mm.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say, Ellie, because you named it, and I want to make sure I mention it too. We do a lot of work as a church to make sure that we provide resources for folks during Synod. So if you show up and you're in a moment of crisis or something comes up and it's really hard, the thing is you're surrounded by pastors. But not only that, there are going to be resources in all throughout Synod for you to find. So last Synod we had a napping station. There's always a chapel that you can go in and find someone to pray with you. So anyway, just to name that, Ellie, that there are resources specifically for you, because we know that this is hard work. So
And
Yeah.
I should
Go
have
ahead.
mentioned in earlier too that we do have space for chapel. We do have safe space for LGBTQ plus. We do have decompression spaces for youth who may be overstimulated, or adults. So there is a lot of support for everyone during General Synod for whatever you may be experiencing during the event.
Well, I think that, when we talk about our God is still speaking, right? We know that God isn't just speaking so we can hear it and think about it and delve into the theology, to delve into the business, but where God is still speaking is also inviting, the invitation of the Spirit for us to be the church, right? Isn't that one of our banners? Be the
Yep.
church. And so this is an opportunity to really be engaged in all of the ways that you can be engaged into General Synod. And look, let me just, for transparency for the folks on the other end of this, the marketing and communications team came to me and said, we would love and think it would be a benefit to host a series with Nurture the Soul to talk about Synod. And I was like, can I come at it from a perspective of somebody who has never been, right? I've been a UCC member of a church for 12 years now and went through the member and discernment process. I'm here at the national ministry setting, and I still have never had a desire to go to Synod, because I was like, that's the business side. I had always been warned growing up, don't become a member of a church, because then you're going to get sucked into the business side of things. And then I went through the member discernment process, and I was like, well, I want to know about the business side of things. How is it that we decided that we are open and affirming, that we are immigrant welcoming, that we are a just faith church? What do these resolutions even mean to me as somebody who is a local pastor? To me as somebody who is at the national setting to help resource our conferences, associations, and congregations. Like, this is where it happens. And I get to be, well, I'm attending Synod, but I'm going to be the main stage person for worship. So I don't know how much of the business side I'll be able to get to, but I really want to be really nosy, because I think, beloveds, we are at a pivotal time in our history. All of us collectively experiencing a building up of a brand new world. And we get to be in a denomination such as the United Church of Christ. Ooh, beloveds, what a gift. What a gift to be in Kansas City, because I'm eating that barbecue. And I'm meeting the people that I only see on this Hollywood squares. I don't even know if we all have, if we're full, whatever we are, beings, but it'll be great to be there, to be in conversation, to be curious. The heart of Nurture the Soul is cultivating curiosity. And it sounds like Synod is going to be that. And so with that, I want to ask any of our panelists, do you have any final thoughts? Anything that came up that we may have missed?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of social movement as we move into Kansas City. I'm not sure what that will be, but that is always an event that happens at Synod. It may be a march, a protest. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of anything, but I bet it's coming.
That might be a part of it too. We might be able to find out a little bit about that at our fourth part of the 4-part series is on braiding worship and justice. So Valerie, good. It's all of the things. It is all of the things. Michael, I saw you come off of mute.
I don't know that I did it on purpose. I was just writing down one of my own notes to self. One of the habits I have at Synod is I see a lot of people that I don't see often, or I see people I've never talked to before. Like for instance, Josh. I've seen Josh. I've been on calls with Josh, but I've never had a conversation one-on-one with him. I imagine a conversation with Josh would turn into me pulling out my phone, and then I'm going to put his contact information in here. One of the things I wrote down is make sure I write down their names in my notebook, because what ends up happening is I walk away and I remember I met so many people and their names are in my contact, but I don't remember who they were. So I just make joining at Synod, I make it intentional to try to build relationships that help me further my work, because I know that there are probably a dozen times over the year that Josh's name comes up. And if I'm going to have his phone number. So I think being intentional about that. But I think the other thing to be intentional about is don't feel overwhelmed if you don't get to connect with everybody that you made a list to connect with. But then also don't forget you have work to do, because one of the things that happens to all of us is that we'll be in the middle of having a really great conversation and then we forgot that the business started. So so keep your to-do list, keep your schedule with you at all times, and don't forget to write down people's names. Don't just put them in your contact list. Take a selfie with them. Yeah, good idea.
I like that, Michael. Like, use your notes. Like, I am a big, like, I'm reaching because I'm a big, give me the old school pen and paper kind of thing. Like, oh, I met Michael. Michael talked to me about this. Need to reach out to them for that, because I know going to something like this, you're so stimulated and so excited, and you're going to be ready to get deep with folks and then be like, I don't remember what the heck I was getting deep with them about. So then the business of the church lasts 72 hours.
And I don't think we mentioned that there will be an app where some of that networking can take place. It's
What a
not on
nice
Signal.
segue.
It's not on Signal though.
Okay. Yeah. Because, be careful who to add on that. Well, I do see some questions coming in before I let us all go. Let me see what they are. I've never been before. What other tips can you share about a first-time attendee? I will also be a delegate, so will there be separate tips for us newbies?
Well, one of the first things you're going to receive upon registration is a ribbon that says, "This is my first synod." So we instituted that a few synods ago that encourages what we call the synod junkies to possibly mentor or help out a first-time synod goer. I think you'll find a world of hospitality. You are going to make so many new friends. By the time you leave after 5 days, your dance card is going to be full.
I love it, Valerie. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I would also offer, if it's your first time, be well rested before you come, because the days are full and you will be better equipped to take advantage of the fullness of those days, including your early morning sort of coffee meeting or your late at night other beverage meeting, if you're well rested before you come, because you're likely to get less sleep during synod than you probably do on a regular basis at home. There's a lot to participate in.
We are getting all of the cares for. I love it. Will there be a synod stole? Yes, there will be. I will let you know there is a new one. We got to see the mock. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and it's beautiful. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. I'm a mid in the New Jersey Central Atlantic Association. I would like to attend. Can you connect me with anyone from this region who is attending?
Did you say a mid?
Yes.
I would be in touch with Renee Jackson. That's Jackson R at ucc.org. And she's our minister who is a liaison for the mids.
I love it. Yeah. So reach out to them, or even your committee on ministry. Double check with them because they should know others that will be going or will at least have access, right? Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I don't know what I was going to say. I spent some time in the New Jersey Central Atlantic Conference. So if you come find me, I can help you find people. But I'm also thinking my words of wisdom might be to walk the halls like you would do the first day before school. If everybody remembers your first day at college or whatever, go to where your classroom is, especially if you're a delegate. Know where your meeting room is, because I'm saying this because this is my problem. I got lost. So I really had a hard time when I was a delegate figuring out which room was mine because they all looked the same. And the other thing is, Josh said to rest after or rest before. When our conference gathered just a little bit ago, a couple of weeks ago, to talk about this, we actually encouraged folks to not only take rest before, but also after, and to name it as a work day. The reason that that's important is the rest is stuff that you have to do in order to function fully. So to assume that this work that you're going to do during the time at Synod is easy enough to show up and then to show back and then go right back to work, it's like running a marathon and then showing up to basketball practice the next week. I mean, it just doesn't work. So I think I would encourage you to take rest before and after and put it in your schedule and make it work time. Don't ask permission because you really need to rest. Yeah.
Oh, and Michael, I know you and I had a conversation earlier. Your association is doing something, for the delegates. Can you talk a little bit about that? And we'll end on here.
Yeah, so the Heartland Conference, we I think every conference has a different freedom to choose their what they do with their Strengthen the Church dollars. But the Heartland Conference, where that all of our Strengthen the Church money is going to support our delegates coming. And so one of the things that I'm working with our conference to do is to get information out to our churches to let them know which delegates that we have and encourage them to pray for them. So for instance, what we're talking about doing is sending the list of delegates to all of our congregations in the conference in the form of like a poster that can go on a bulletin board to encourage folks to pray for them while they're at Synod. But really just making a big push that the way that we become a stronger church is to get involved in the work of the church. And so we think Synod is really the place where we really need to spend as much time as we can supporting the work that we're doing. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love this, Michael. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for your association and conference thinking about us, because the work isn't just for the folks who go. It's for those who are behind and uplifting those who have decided to say, yes, I'll go to the Midwest in the hottest part of the year for some barbecue. For some fellowship and church work. I want to welcome you all back for next Monday. We're going to be in part 2. And if you have a question, or if you know somebody would benefit from watching this webinar, again, it's going to be uploaded. The links will be sent out in a follow-up email. Feel free to email me your questions. And if I don't get around to, answering it myself, I will find the people who know the answers. And be sure to spell my last name correctly, otherwise I won't get it. It's always good to reply to your webinar invite. Wear comfortable shoes, comfortable clothes. It doesn't have to be high church. High church has its place. That can be high church during high church, but during the rest of the time, be comfortable, beloveds, because it's a big space. You're going to be doing a lot of walking, we might even have a timed relay race. Who knows what's in plans to get the exercise and the fun in. But I just want to thank you all so much for joining us for the webinar today, for our presenters. I know how busy each and every one of you are in the season leading up to it. What a gift you have been to us and to the people that are watching this now or even later. And we invite you to join us for our next webinar next Monday, 3:30 p.m. Again, we're going to be part 2, which is the 5 W's of Synod resolutions. We're going to hear from representatives that'll help us better understand the role of resolutions from our perspective in the DC office, what they mean for our local congregations, the resolution process, and stories from those who have written resolutions or those who have acted in the role of a committee chair. We're going to also be introduced to the resolutions that will be presented this summer. It's not going to be a deep dive. Let me say that again. We don't have the time for it to be a deep dive. You're going to have to utilize your critical thinking skills and your community to delve into those conversations. I saw somebody put into chat earlier that they're having their conference read those collectively together, and then they're going to talk about it as they are the delegate for that conference. So I want to thank you for thinking about that, for joining us today. And now I just invite you, Michael Howard, to take us out with a benediction. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Josh. Much love and blessings to you. I'll see you in July. Michael.
Yeah, will you pray with me? Gracious God, you are the creator of all good things, and you have made us and set us in this world to do good. And so, God, thank you for giving us the time and the space to come together. Thank you for calling us to be the church. Thank you for preparing us and giving us all that we need. And God, as we go our separate ways, but get ready to do the work of becoming the church together, go with us, guide us, and bring us peace, that we can be the people you call us to be. In Jesus' name, amen. Go in peace. Thank you all.
Siblings in Christ, if you are moved by this conversation, if what's been offered here has helped enhance your ministry or has nurtured your soul for the journey, please consider donating to the annual fund of the United Church of Christ by texting UCC to 41444. Your support will help to provide programs like this, which are an essential part of our ministries in the United Church of Christ. Thank you for your support. Be blessed on your journey and know that you are not alone. We are holding you in prayer. Amen.